Hi everyone. Not long ago I did a little summary as to what Rabbit in Red is all about, and this time I want to take a few minutes to tell you what Burn the Rabbit, Rabbit in Red Volume 2 is all about. I'll do my best to be spoiler free. I'll tell you if I'm going to do any big spoilers, so you can watch without having read it. Let's jump right in. This book is a follow up to the first in the series. I know a few people who've only read this one and not the first. I would personally, of course, read all in order, but technically I think you could just read this one. This is I always described Rabbit in Red as my own little goosebumps, whereas Burn the Rabbit slowly morphs the Rabbit in Red series into more Game of Thrones. We get darker, we get deeper, we get scary. I have a lot of fun with Burn the Rabbit. It opens with a mystery madman, someone who's sick and twisted, and he watches the news as to what happened during the Rabbit in Red Fright Fest 4D Halloween weekend from the first book, and he fantasizes about Jamie, and he's just gross, but he wants to hurt them, and we don't know who he is, and we don't know why, and that so I set that little mystery up right away. But those who survived Rabbit in Red year one come back for year two, and they become our first year leaders. Their goal is to, under JB's mentoring, is to design challenges and programs to create the next generation of horror leaders. And they come up with a really awesome idea, and it's called Hellfire. Hellfire is imagine going through a legit haunted house, the scariest haunted houses you can imagine, but also have it enhanced with virtual reality. So we have something called the Rabbit's Eye, and the Rabbit's Eye is a virtual reality device, but they go through a real haunt, but things really come alive and attack them because of that virtual reality. I think that'd be the coolest thing ever, and that's why I wanted to write a book all about it. Call it Hellfire. But before we even get there, someone in our Rabbit in Red crew gets hurt right away. Kidnapped, taken, almost burned alive, seriously hurt. And so I try to introduce that fear factor. Wow, we got a really genuine madman out to hurt someone. Um, but while our first year leaders are developing this program, we have other people who are out looking for the person who's been kidnapped and trying to protect her and find out who's doing this. Ultimately, the first year leaders, they take Hellfire, and I envisioned it as a sort of an American Idol contest, but for haunted houses. Like, imagine, I always thought this would be really cool. Imagine across the country, you open up the scariest haunted house you could, and one survivor of each haunted house becomes sort of your final contestants. If you remember in the first book, they had to do a trivia contest to get into Rabbit in Red. Well, we've really upped the stakes, haven't we? We went from trivia to you have to survive Hellfire. And then they come to Rabbit in Red. So we have our first year leaders, and then we have new students. And these new students work with our first year leaders to make Hellfire even better. And what we do to make it even better, and here's one just slight spoiler, is we create a neurological device within the Rabbit's Eye that makes people feel genuine pain. So now the next level of the haunt is not only do you see things coming at you in full virtual reality, but you experience genuine pain too. While this is going on in Rabbit in Red, they're trying to learn real horror to become part of, again, that industry that they love, just in twisted ways, right? But of course, we have mysteries within mysteries going on at Rabbit in Red. We have VHS tapes that get left behind, and who's leaving these VHS tapes, and why are we watching these? Well, the VHS tapes show our crazy Rabbit in Red creator, Jay Bell, in his past. He, of course, always wanted to be a filmmaker, so one of the first ones we see is him remaking The Exorcist as a child, with full puke and having fun and all that great stuff. But we get to see a darker side of him. If you remember in the first book, one of my favorite lines was "Don't hang with those who shame." Book one is really this. I want to sell. I mean, if you look in my office, I celebrate geekdom and fandom, and I enjoy that. And I always thought, if someone makes fun of you for that, well, screw them. Don't hang out with that person. That's not. Those aren't your people. Don't hang with those who shame what you do. Find those who celebrate what you do. Well, I take a little twist on that. And in book two, we actually realize when he was young, JB had a hang those who shame, meaning we're going to hurt the people who have hurt us. And we see some things that he did in his youth that's a little bit scary. He also got bullied and called a weird nickname called Smell Slime. Smell Slime, remember that, because that's going to be really important in book 3. We're going to have a little reveal for you there, all right? So we have all of that. We have virtual pain versus real pain. And there are lots of different things going on. We have a new love interest for Jamie, of course, always throwing in that little twist of romance. So Bill is into Jamie, wants to ask her out to be his girlfriend, but one of the new students shows a little bit more confidence in Bill. So Bill actually, we see our hero take a fall in book 2. And I like exploring that development too of heroes and characters. Just a few other things I want to throw out to you. There's one of my favorite scenes in near the end. Bill goes and talks to his mom, and he always wanted to know, why did Jason Lamb know about us? Why did he break into this house? How did he know? Was it random, or was there a purpose behind it? And if you remember from the first book, Bill had a home intruder when he was a child, came into his house, broke into his house, and killed his father. And that home intruder is in jail thanks to JB, who locked him up using his using his resources. At the end of book 1, we got to see that as sort of a have faith in me, guys. I'm not completely crazy. That was the message from the leader, from JB. Well, Bill's got all these questions, and his mom turns to him and says, why don't you just go ask him? And it's one of those moments like, whoa, crap, I can do that? And let me just tell you that in book 3, Bill gets to confront the home intruder, and there's a little bit more to that story, too. So in the end of our book, and here's a spoiler, okay? Well, before I get to this, I'm not really going to... I'm going to spoil a little bit of what happened without telling you specifically who it happened to. All right, so watch at your own risk. But I do want to say, ebook-wise, I'm making both Rabbit and Red and Burn the Rabbit 99 cents on Amazon up until the release of Bury the Rabbit. The third and final book in the series releases worldwide October 28th. You can pre-order this from BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com. Go to your favorite bookstore. You can also, if you want to get it early, you should subscribe to BookLoot and go to bookloot.org. BookLoot is sending out an exclusive trilogy edition, all 3 books in one, and that will arrive at your door before the public even has access to Bury the Rabbit. So I'm super excited to get this to you. We end with a cliffhanger. Burn the Rabbit ultimately ends where our simulations, and here's my spoiler, the simulations become totally real. We don't need that headset anymore. And at first it was used to trick people, like, oh, I'm not really hurt. It's just this rabbit's eye that's making me think that, right? No. Someone has sabotaged it. The simulations become real. People die. And I guess maybe I won't share a whole lot more than that, except to tell you that the crazy madman is a part of this, is someone that you'll read about, someone who is part of this crew, and many are put at risk. Some will die. Our third book also opens with a funeral, so we do say goodbye to someone, I can tell you that for sure. Guys, I loved writing this series. It's really exciting as it comes to its conclusion. I hope that you'll check out Rabbit and Red. Again, trying to make it as cheap as I can for you, 99 cents on Amazon, but the paperback is available, of course, anywhere in the world. Just call your Barnes & Noble or call your local bookstore that you like and just ask if they want to order a copy of it for you, and then you can also pre-order Bury the Rabbit. Thanks so much for watching, for being interested. This is my season. This is our season, fall and Halloween coming up, so let's enjoy it. See ya.